Oh, Canada, welcome to the Canadian Open episode of Green on the Greens. Myself and Cody Williams, one of my favorite tournaments on the calendar. To me, it is my fifth major. It is my country's Open. Cody, when you were growing up, or I don't know when you started watching golf, but did the Canadian Open seem extra special at all to you or fellow Americans, or was it just another tournament for you guys?
Pretty much just another tournament, unfortunately. But, I grew up in the Southeast. I don't think you really want to take Southeastern values quite to heart.
It was growing up in Canada, still is. It is actually treated probably as the second biggest tournament of the year next to the Masters in terms of Canadian sports media. It's probably Masters number one, Canadian Open number two. So obviously has a special place in my heart. Last year, finally, Nick Taylor broke the drought of no Canadians winning it, and he did it in dramatic fashion. 72-foot putt, I think, is how long it was in the playoff against Tommy Fleetwood to win. One of the greatest Canadian sports moments of my life. So now,
not for Adam Hadwin.
What's that?
Not for Adam Hadwin.
Tackled, yes. So now we don't need to answer the question of when is a Canadian going to finally win the Canadian Open? It has happened. I'm a little bit less stressed. A little bit less anxiety heading into this year's edition of the Canadian Open. But really quick, let's recap last week. Not great. The only winner we hit was I got JT Poston top 20 at plus 240. And no blood in terms of closest to the win. Both of our closest to the win picks missed the cut. So I still have the 10-3 lead in that competition. Both of our outright picks did well. Close, but no cigar. Sepp Straka and Colin Morikawa. I think they were both top 10.
Yeah, I think they might have been both top five, honestly. They were up there in the mix. Tony Finau really let me down shooting a 5-over round on Sunday, which hurt me because he was in the mix for that top five pick I had. Really came back to bite me there. But yeah, it was Davis Riley ran away with the thing. We really didn't have a shot. It wasn't even a winner without Scotty Scheffler thing. It was just Davis Riley playing a different golf tournament than everyone else, it seemed like.
Yeah, I didn't even watch Sunday, to be honest, because I was keeping track of the scoreboard, and if Scheffler made it close, I was going to tune in. But who would have thought Davis Riley was going to run away with it? But yeah, actually, both of our outright picks did finish top 10. So if you just went conservative with our outright picks and bet them, top five, then you would have won. Colin Morikawa solo fourth, Sepp Straka T5. So even though we didn't cash our outrights, I'm fine with those picks. But the only one that did hit was JT Poston. Top 20, plus 240, finished T12 this past week. So let's move on to the Canadian Open. Also, we're going to finish the show with our picks for the U.S. Women's Open at Lancaster. Also, breaking LPGA news, Lexi Thompson retiring at 29 years old. Or she might be 30 by the time she retires. But end of the season, she's currently only 29, retiring. But she's been pro since, I think she turned pro when she's 15.
Yeah, super young. One of the craziest stats in golf is she is 29 years old and she is playing in her 18th U.S. Open.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's just mind blowing.
Yeah. Thankful when I was there at the Mizuho there 2 weeks ago, I followed her around for her opening round. So I got to see her golf live, and probably won't get a chance again because she's going to retire at the end of this year. So.
Yeah, I got to see her in December down at the Grant Thornton in Naples. So I got to see her and Ricky Fowler play together there. So that was, I'm glad we both got a chance to get eyes on her before she hangs it up.
Yeah, she's a fun golfer to watch. Has not had her best stuff the past couple of years. And I know she talked about in her retirement speech. It kind of seems like she's kind of sick of the golf lifestyle, and I don't blame her. It's very lonely, I assume. I wouldn't know. Yeah. Obviously not a pro golfer, but you're traveling around by yourself. All around the country. And for LPGA, it's not even just all around the country like the PGA Tour mostly is. They're going all around the world. Europe, they have the Asian swing. So yeah, I think she's just kind of done with the golf lifestyle. So
especially being a pro since she was a teenager too,
right,
on top of that.
Exactly.
She's never had a normal adult life, essentially.
Right. All right, let's move on to the Canadian Open. Before we do, like I said, we'll wrap up the show with our U.S. Women's Open picks, but we'll talk Canadian Open first. Hamilton Golf and Country Club, the last time the Canadian Open was hosted at this course was in 2019 when Rory ran away with it on Sunday. I don't really have any major takeaways for this course, Cody. I know last time with Rory winning it, you would think kind of long drivers would dominate a course like this, but not necessarily the case, even though Rory did win it. So I'm actually going to pick a couple of guys who are a little bit more shorter but accurate. It seems like just hitting greens and being solid off the tee is kind of the way to go this week. I haven't seen really anything that's like a unique characteristic of Hamilton.
Not necessarily. Rory's definitely the outlier, I think,
Mhm.
is kind of what I like. And when you look at the other scores, like he blitzed the field on Sunday and just ran away from everybody. And like I think that's kind of the takeaway is like I'm kind of looking more at the rest of the field, see what that looks like, see how those guys play. I think that's more
Yep.
indicative of what we're going to see because I mean, yes, there is a chance that Rory comes out and does the same thing again, especially with how well he's been playing. But at the same time, I think honestly, I think Colonial last week is a pretty decent comp. It's not necessarily as positional, but it is a lot of target golf. Like you want to be accurate in both in all the ball striking categories.
Yep.
And if you're not accurate, you want to have a little bit of around the green play as well.
All right, let's start things off. Top 20, as always, top 20, top 10, top 5 are pick to win, and then we'll finish off with close to the win in U.S. Women's Open picks. So let's start with top 20. Cody, who do you got?
Top 20, I'm going Mac Meisner. I believe I had him as a pick for the Zurich Classic, and we were not very aware of who this person was. Since then, though, he has kind of put his name on the map a little bit. Last two finishes, T13 at Myrtle Beach and then T5 last week at Colonial. Again, I think Colonial is a pretty decent comp for what we're going to see this week at Hamilton. But over his last 16 rounds, he's gaining 1.397 strokes tee to green. That's fourth best in this field over that span. And even better, he's gaining with the putter on top of that. He's not one of the guys that I typically, gravitate towards who can strike the hell out of the ball but can't putt to save their life. Like he's putting well right now. I think that when you look at his profile, there's not one specific area where he necessarily excels. If you had to pick one, it'd be his approach play, which I obviously like. But I think that overall, he just has a really balanced game right now. He's peaking into form, and I think that he's a guy who can really pop up. Coming in off of 2 straight top 20 finishes at plus 275, I like that a lot.
Yeah, like you said, a name that we didn't even really know of a few weeks ago, and he's kind of popping up in leaderboards now. So he's kind of stuck out to me as well. I know some other people who are betting on him this week, so no complaints from me. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I think he might be a new name to watch for us,
yeah.
honestly.
Yep. My top 20 pick, I don't know why. I like this guy. Not really a super well-known or kind of extremely good golfer, but CT Pan. I'm going to take him to finish top 20 plus. I don't know why. Like I've been a CT Pan for a number of years. He won the RBC Heritage a few years ago, and I didn't bet on him, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But I think he has not had a great 2024. He finished T3 at the Mexico Open back in February. Since then, he has not really played well. But there were some signs at last week's Charles Schwab Challenge, reasons to kind of back him a little bit. His short game improved. He was a little bit better off the tee. And he's a guy who is who you can feel free to bet on at events where you don't need distance off the tee, which I think is the case at Hamilton, because that is his biggest weakness. He's not long off the tee. He's a lot more of an accurate hitter off the tee. And his play around the greens is pretty solid, but mostly he's kind of average everywhere else. But also, he has just done, he's played in Canada twice, and he's finished T14 and then finished T3 last year. Now, obviously, those are different courses. I don't want to say they're, an exact fit, but I do think all Canadian Open courses are similar in some sense. And I mean, he's done well here 2 years north of the border. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a really weak field, to be completely honest. There's not a lot of really good mid-range guys. So I think plus 375 for CT Pan, who showed some life last week, who has played well in Canada, whose kind of profile fits this course well. I'm not going to be betting on him to win outright or anything else. I'm just going to stick to top 20, but I think plus 375 with ties included is a pretty decent pick for Pan here.
No, I don't dislike it at all. I'm just dying at the fact that you prefaced your pick with he's not a very good golfer. What a sell job by you. That's immaculate. But I think I know why you like him. Your boy Xander Schauffele, gold medalist at the Olympics. CT Pan was the bronze medalist. So I think you might just be looking at the podium from the Olympics, and that's your guys.
That's true. Silver medalist. Do you remember who?
Was it Rory Sabatini?
Rory Sabatini, who's changed his nationality just so he could compete at the Olympics, because he's South African. He married someone from
Czech Republic, I believe.
Is it? I always confuse. Is it now? It's Czechoslovakia, or now is it Czech Republic? It's
Czech Republic now.
But now I see in hockey, like for the international championship this past week, they now refer themselves as Czechia. So now is it Czech Republic? Is it Czechoslovakia? Is it Czechia? I don't know, but that he married a woman from there, changed nationality to that so he'd have a better chance of making the Olympics, because South Africa is good golfers, so he had no chance of making the Olympics. Did it, and then somehow medaled. And it's the best he's ever played. So it's a wild story, and people don't like him, but it's crazy that he would change his nationality for that purpose and then somehow manage to medal. So shout out Rory Sabatini.
One of my favorite podcast bits is the shotgun start guys. They refer to him as the boy from Bratislava, even though he's from South Africa. It absolutely kills me, but it's for that exact reason.
Paul in chat says Cody stole my pick. How do you pronounce Meisner? Messner?
Meisner, I think.
Pivoting to Davis Thompson, top 10 plus 400. Strokes gained in 5 of his last 6 events. Approach and off the tee numbers consistent. Needs to keep it straight. T25 and 5 of 7. Well, Cody, I think we can just roll right into your top 10 pick.
Yeah, I think me and Paul handicapped this one pretty similarly because I also have Davis Thompson at plus 400 as my top 10 pick for this week. Everything you said, his recent form is just strong. T2 at Myrtle Beach, T17 at Colonial last week. Last 12 rounds, 7th in strokes gained off the tee in this field, 6th in strokes gained approach in this field. That's 4th in tee to green over this span, and that's despite losing strokes around the green. However, like you can worry about the short game, but he gained 2.7 at Myrtle Beach and only lost 0.4 at Colonial. So I think the short game might be leveling out a little bit, and that's why we're seeing the results really kind of match that. I think he's always been a great ball striker. I think he's someone who we've seen pop on the PGA Tour before, and I think he's kind of playing like a guy who's about to pop again. So as a top 10, playing a little bit safe, but at plus 400, I think his form deserves a little bit better odds, especially like you mentioned in this field where Tommy Fleetwood is the second favorite who famously has never won on the PGA Tour. So that tells you everything you need to know about the field strength.
Yeah, and how much is Tommy Fleetwood a second favorite because he made the playoff last year? Like, has Tommy Fleetwood, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, has he been playing good golf?
When I was looking at the numbers, it wasn't anything that caught my eye.
I mean, T13 at Wells Fargo. I mean, nothing crazy. T3 to me, yeah. I don't know. But yeah, pretty weak field.
Mm-hmm.
So Davis Thompson 4-1. So you and Paul, one of you stole the other person's notes. I don't know which way, but same picks for both for top 20, top 10. Paul, let's hear your top 5 pick. Maybe we can go 3 for 3.
Maybe we have the exact same betting card.
It'd be hilarious. In the meantime, I'm going to go with a guy who's been playing some solid golf lately. I think, Cody, maybe you picked him on the show a couple times. Maybe not. Maverick McNeely.
Oh, we both picked him.
We both picked him. Top 10, 3-1. I lost my notes here. Where'd my notes go? Oh, they're over here. Maverick McNeely enters this week, actually 11th on the PGA Tour in total strokes gained. So he's another guy who is going to be similar to my pick to win, which everyone, if you've been watching the show, you're all going to know who my pick to win is. A guy whose statistics are better than their odds indicate they are. Like I said, 11th on the entire PGA Tour in total strokes gained. I found something maybe with his irons at the Charles Schwab Challenge last week. He shot the low score in round 4. I think it was 4 under. Nobody else shot 4 under or better. And in that round, he gained plus 1.92 strokes in the field with his approach game. So if he can carry whatever he found with his irons on Sunday this past weekend into this weekend, I think he's going to do pretty well. T23 at the PGA Championship, T17 last week. We're just going to take him. Well, I took him to win too at 40-1. But also for the sake of the show, top 10, 3-1, Maverick McNeely. We've been betting on him. He hasn't come through for us yet. This might be the week that he does it.
I gave McNeely a look as well. I like him a lot this week because the thing with McNeely is his ball striking has started to come around over the past few weeks, and we know his short game is what's normally reliable, and it's kind of been middling or up and down, I guess is the best way you can say it. So like if he gets his trademark short game to where it normally is, he's going to have a great week this week.
Yeah. Didn't get Paul's top 5 picks, so we'll see if it kind of lines up anyways here. Cody, you are taking a guy who I took last week.
Yes, Aaron Rai. And one thing I wanted to point out was something you talked about earlier, guys who have played well in Canada previously. He has never played at this course, but he's played the past 2 years in Canada, and he has a T13 and T3. So he has played well in Canada, played well at this event. And like you said, I think it's a lot because a lot of these courses in Canada that we see this Canadian Open at demand the same things. And over the last 20 rounds, those things it demands is what Aaron Rai has been doing. Second in this field in fairways gained, been just an accurate driver, finding the fairway, getting himself good looks on approach. Last 12 rounds, third in this field on strokes gained approach. It's no coincidence also that when I looked back at the comp courses that I developed for the Canadian Open and for Hamilton, that was Colonial, TPC River Highlands, and Detroit Golf Club, where they play the Rocket Mortgage Classic. His worst finish since the start of last year at any of those courses was last week when he finished T32, and he lost 4 strokes with his short game. So And he looking back at the stats, apparently he just really sucks with his short game at Colonial. He's lost like multiple strokes with his short game at Colonial the past 2 times he's played it. But I think that overall he had gained 4 out of his last 5 with his short game. So I don't think the short game is something I'm necessarily worried about. And frankly, in this field, I'm going to take a flyer on someone like Aaron Rai to finish in the top 5. I think he's someone who's live to get into that mix. So at plus 650, I really like the value there.
Yeah, I like it. I wish I would have known that about his short game at Colonial before I bet him last week. But yeah, so I like it. He frustrated me too much, so that's why I didn't go back to him this week. But I'm glad one of us is on Aaron Rai. Great course fit. All right, I'm going to go with for my top 5. I think I took this guy at Genesis, maybe. I took him once earlier this year. I've been waiting for the chance to get back on him. I'm going to take him this week, and that is Adam Scott.
Oh, nice.
Finished T12 at last week's Charles Schwab Challenge. He hit both his irons and his putts at a pretty high level last week, so I'm just going to hope that he can carry those into this week. And yeah, in a pretty weak field, I think we're actually getting a pretty decent price here on Adam Scott. Like I said, I've just been kind of waiting for him because I think Adam Scott has one more win on the PGA Tour left in his career. I mean, obviously he's getting up there in age. He's 43. And based on both his ball striking and his putting last week, he may have found something. I think this is a course where he can do well at. So I'm going to take Adam Scott top 5, 6-1.
I love it. The way he's been driving the ball is kind of what you want to see here because he's got length. He's not a short hitter off the tee, but he's extremely accurate for how long he hits the ball. So I think we could see not necessarily the exact same not the exact same profile as what Rory did in 2019, but something similar where he's just, blowing the field away because he's finding the fairway 20 yards past a lot of the other shorter hitters who are going to be in the mix in that regard.
Yeah. And he's not wayward, so he can be long and accurate too, which is obviously a huge help. All right, let's move on to our picks to win the Canadian Open.
Yeah, I'm going with Shane Lowry at 22-1. Finished T2 here in 2019. I think that's probably where I started looking at it. And it makes sense. When you think of Shane Lowry and the courses he's had success on traditionally on the PGA Tour, excluding the Open Championship, which is its own, grab bag in the DP World Tour, but accurate driving with decent length and then strong approach play. The big thing with Lowry this year has been his putting. It's been awful. It's been absolute dog water. It's been impossible to rely on. And then we saw him at the PGA Championship, and he putted the daylights out of the ball. And now a lot of people are going to point to that and say it was an outlier, but I think what actually stands out to me is he gained more than 5 strokes on Saturday putting, but he also gained more than a stroke on Thursday and then more than 3 strokes on Friday. So I think that is a very good sign that he may have found something, unlocked something with the putter. I'm not expecting him to gain 9 strokes putting like he did at the PGA Championship this week, but I am expecting to see not him losing 4 or 5 strokes, which is what he was doing. With his profile and all of that, I do like Shane Lowry at 22-1. Frankly, I think Rory might actually win this again just with how well he's playing, but at 4-1, I'm not going to bet that number. So I'm going to go with Shane Lowry.
Yeah, Rory's definitely the best golfer in the field, no doubt about it. But nobody not named Scotty Scheffler should be 4-1, even in a weak field. Rory's just not consistent enough, I don't think.
Yeah,
for to be listed at that price. I like that Shane Lowry pick. I like all your picks this week. I usually try to disagree with one of them. I can't disagree with any of them.
I will tell you, I was going to pick. I don't even have to see it. I know who your outright is. I was going to pick him, but I knew he was going to be your outright pick, so I decided to just let you have it and go with Shane Lowry.
I appreciate that. And Paul, you had the same top 20 and top 10 pick as Cody. You got the same outright pick as me. Paul says no top 5s have an outright going. Norin 22-1. Data Golf has him 4th best odds to win. DK has him 7th. Good value. His stroke gain numbers are insane. Might be top 5 golfer on tour. Yep. And that is who I'm taking. Alex Norin 25-1 is the price I got him at, I believe, at BetMGM. You said it, Paul. Strokes gained. Total strokes gained this season. It is Scotty Scheffler 1. It is Xander Schauffele 2. It is Rory McIlroy 3. It is Alex Norin, who in total strokes gained is 4th on the PGA Tour. I will continue to bet on him until either his form falls off a cliff or until he wins. One of the two is going to happen because I don't think there's any way a guy can be this good statistically and not get a win on tour, or at least really challenge for a win. Look at his lot. He hasn't finished worse than T24 since the Phoenix Open in February. Since then, he's gone T9, T19, T11, T14, T23, solo 3rd at the CJ Cup, T24, T12 at the PGA Championship. If it wasn't for it was Friday, the back nine on Friday at the PGA Championship. There was a back nine either Friday or I think it was Friday that he'll just collapse. I think he shot like 4 over on the back nine. He potentially could have been in the mix to win the PGA Championship, still finished T12, and that was a course that did not fit his style whatsoever. This is more of a course I think that's going to fix that's going to fit his style because he's not long off the tee. And now he, outside of Rory and, maybe Shane Lowry and a couple other guys, this is a pretty weak field. This is an event he can win at based on how good he's been playing. I mean, if you go off total strokes gained data, he's the second best golfer in the field. So now is the time for Alex Noren, for my faith in Alex Noren to finally pay off. Obviously, I would rather him win if it was at longer odds, but still 25-1, which I think that price is still available at BetMGM. Yep, BetMGM still available at 25-1. I think now is a good time. If you haven't already, now is the time to get in on Alex Noren.
Sorry, I was just looking at Paul's latest comment, and he's absolutely right. It bodes well for nobody in this scenario. The fact that we're all group thinking this. But no,
I mean, last time everyone was on the same pick was Hideki Matsuyama at the Masters, and he stunk. So yeah, this is bad.
Yeah, it's either the best thing, we're all going to profit, but more than likely we're all going to just absolutely eat dirt on this.
This is when Alex Noren's form finally falls off. Now he's going to miss the cut for the first time. Last time he missed the cut was the Fortinet Championship, and the first event of this season back in September was the last time he missed the cut.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean he has been playing phenomenal golf. He has been, and like you said, like when you bet on him at the PGA Championship, one of my worries was, can Alex Noren compete to win in a loaded field like this? Like, can he make the birdies? This isn't a birdie fest either. And I think that really plays into what he's going to do well. I think that he's going to he's been one of the best on tour in bogey avoidance this year. Like, he's going to put up a decent score every single week, every single round this week. And I think that's going to really bode well for him. So like I said, I looked at him, but I looked at the profile, looked at the fit, and I was like, Ian's going Alex Noren. I'm going to avoid the conflict and let him have it.
Yeah, I didn't even have to. I just looked at the odds and was like, "Oh, Noren's in the field this week. Done. Don't even need to look into it." Because I've looked at him every week that he's competed since. When did I start? I started betting on him at the. Was it the Cognizant? What one is the one? What one was the one that used to be called the Honda? Is it the Cognizant?
Yeah, Cognizant.
That's when I started betting on him. So it was right at the start of his run. Now, I wish that I was just betting on him top 20 and top 10s, or mostly top 20s. I haven't been. I've just been betting on him to win. But my faith in him it's time for it to pay off.
I don't know, man. Are you getting a little overconfident after your faith in Xander paid off finally?
A little bit, yes. Absolutely. All right, closer to the win. Let's move on to that. For those of you who it's your first time watching, we both pick a golfer that's at least 100-1 odds or longer to win. Whichever golfer finishes further up the leaderboard or closest to the win gets a point, and at the end of the season, the loser has to pay for a round of golf for the winner. I have taken a commanding 10-3 lead. Cody might be in dormy at this point. He might need a win out just to tie. I mean, there's probably a few more events than 7 left, but you got to get going in a hurry, Cody, or else it's going to be over by the time we even hit like the Open Championship. So you start us off. Who is your pick for close to the win?
Yeah, I'm not sure this is the guy to necessarily do it, but I'm going with Ryan Moore, the ageless veteran at 200-1 as my closest to the win pick. Honestly, recent form, not really what I'm looking for. He has 2 missed cuts and a solo 69th last week in his last 3 starts. Not great, but over the last 20 rounds, 3rd in fairways gained. He's an accurate driver, but he's also 3rd on approach over that span from 125 to 150 yards. On a shorter golf course, that's a range you're probably going to see a lot of approach shots for. So I think we could see his approach play spike like it was earlier in the year when we were in the Florida swing and seeing a lot of these shorter courses where he could really show off his accuracy in positional golf. So I think that really plays well. Going back to the Canada point, in the last 2 years at the Canadian Open, he didn't play here in 2019, but he's been T25 and T35. For a veteran like him who doesn't really have a great deal of upside, that's solid. He's played this type of golf course well. So even though the extremely recent form hasn't been there, I think we're going to see a return to form for Ryan Moore. I think he's going to at least make the cut and put up a decent finish this week, which is what I'm looking for.
I like it. I mean, listen, I'm not going to argue with your close to the win picks because we're talking a pick that's 200-1 odds. I got a guy who's even longer odds than 200-1. I have a 250-1 pick for my close to the win.
Oh my!
He led the field last week in strokes gained approach, and that's what I'm basing this entire pick off. It is David Lipsky.
Okay.
250 to 1. He finished T9 at the Charles Schwab Challenge last week, and he gained 2.74 true strokes gained approach per round last week. Led the entire field with his approach game. Is that sustainable? I certainly don't think so, considering his season has been abysmal. He finished, I don't remember who he's paired with at Zurich, but he finished T23 at Zurich. And other than that, it's a lot of red. Miscut, T58, miscut, T42, miscut. So last week was most likely a flash in the pan. Or maybe he found how to finally hit a golf ball with an iron in his hand, because I don't know how, but he just randomly led the field in strokes gained approach, and he led it by a mile. So I will take a guy who I'm just going to take a shot that he found something with his irons and take him 250 to 1 for my close to the win pick this week.
Again, it's hard to argue with. Like, we've seen Lipsky pop before. Why not? Why not this week?
Sure. T13 at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship too in November. So
last 12 rounds, he's losing a stroke per round on the greens. Putting. So that's probably an issue.
His putting's bad, but he is decently accurate off the tee, just not long off the tee. Mm-hmm. So maybe this week's gonna be okay. Maybe, like I said, maybe he found something with his approach. All I need to do is for him to finish further up the leaderboard than Ryan Moore. So David Lipsky.
All right. What a murderer's row of closest to the win picks.
Because when we're talking golfers who have to be at least 100 to 1 odds, and it's a weak field, like, go look at the golfers who are listed those odds. It's not pretty.
It's something.
And now, I mean, we're going 200 to 1. I should have went back to Matt Kuchar. That's what we should have went with.
Always. I feel like you say that every week that Matt Kuchar's in the field. You're like, oh, I should have gotten Kuch.
I got a soft spot for Kuch. All right, let's finish up with women's U.S. Open at Lancaster. This was last hosted here in 2014, I believe. It was In-Ji Chun who won the event. This is not going to be my pick for the show, but I am going to sprinkle on In-Ji Chun. 125 to 1 for the last time, the winner, the last time it was hosted at this event. She's fallen in love with this course since then. She has a foundation through the Lancaster Country Club since then. She's gone back and played there a bunch of times since then. And she finished 14th at the Mizuho 2 weeks ago. So nobody likes this course more than In-Ji Chun. And she's rounding into form a little bit this season. And she's 125 to 1. So not my pick, but just a little tidbit for those of you who want to sprinkle on a crazy long shot for LPGA this week. Really quick. Paul says, Iain Rankin, RBC Canadian Open, Grey Cup, Celine Dion at the Bell Center. I will take number 1, Canadian Open, number 2, Grey Cup, number 3, Celine Dion at the Bell Center. Celine Dion is French, and the Bell Center is in Montreal, so that will be last for me. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Or the Grey Cup might be last if it's the Montreal Alouettes that are playing it, or if it's taking place in Montreal. All right, so our picks for the women's U.S. Open. Cody, you give your outright pick first. I'll give my outright pick, and then we got a squad ride for the women's U.S. Open.
Yeah, so I have Brooke Henderson at 25 to 1, or I believe you actually found a better number than 25, 28 to 1. Yeah. I like, when I think of the U.S. Women's Open, and it's very similar to the men's U.S. Open, I look for a lot of balance play. I want to see someone who's just doing everything well, and that's Brooke Henderson. She's gaining strokes across the board. She's 6th in total strokes gained so far this year, tied for 6th. And I just think that she does everything decently well. It's nothing spectacular. It's not like, Nelly Korda numbers and any of the strokes gained numbers, but she's gaining across the board. I like that. I like that fit for what a U.S. Women's Open demands.
Yeah, this Lancaster, I mean, LPGA, there's so much less information for LPGA than the PGA Tour, especially when we're talking about a course we haven't seen on any major tour since 2015 when it was last hosted here. Earlier, I think I said 2014, but it's 2015. So, I don't really know what we're looking for in terms of what's important at Lancaster. So it does make handicapping this event a little bit more tough. And, I mean, Brooke Henderson is good just about everywhere. So her short game lets her down a little bit, but, I mean, she's a major winner.
Two-time major winner. Yeah.
Two-time major winner. She's still, only 26 years old. Obviously,
top 5 at Chevron earlier this year as well. So
yep.
We've seen major form from her this year. I like it.
She's the best Canadian golfer of all time, just in terms of like most wins. So yeah, I'm not going to argue against Brooke Henderson, but it is kind of ironic that we were doing a show on Canadian Open for the men's. Neither of us picked a single Canadian, and then your pick for the U.S. Open is a Canadian.
Well, I mean, Sweden's basically the Canada of Europe, so
that's true.
Yeah, so Alex Noren's an honorary Canadian.
Perfect. My pick for the women's U.S. Open, and I think I gave out this golfer for a previous time we've talked about an LPGA event. Maybe it was the Chevron Championship. But this woman has slowly turned into one of my favorite LPGA golfers. It's Ayeka Faru. I watched her in person at Mizuho last year. I watched her in person again this year. She's just so accurate. She's just not long off the tee, which that does concern me, because I mean, if Lancaster plays like a men's US Open, maybe you have to be long off the tee. But she is an unbelievable ball striker. Her irons have been dialed in of late. She gained 6.71 strokes in the field with her approach game at Mizuho. She was just terrible around the greens, which kind of cost her the win there. So I think she's peaking at the right time. I think she's poised to be in contention. She's 5th on the LPGA in total strokes gained, and you can bet on her to win at 25-1. I think it's only a matter of time, and I think it's going to happen this season where she finally wins a major. So, yeah, I've become a pretty big fan of Ayeka Faru, so I'm going to back her 25-1.
I dig it, and she's also been putting really well. I think it's on the season, it's like 0.6 strokes per round that she's gaining on the green. So, like that, you got to putt to win a U.S. Open. Yeah,
her play, she's the women's Victor Hovland. If she could just chip, then she'd have a lot more wins. Let's go squad ride. This is my second pick to win. And Cody, you said that you like this golfer top 5. So I'll just give it out, and then you can add your comments as well. But I'm gonna go with Megan King, 50-1. What were your odds for top 5?
7-1 for a top 5, and that's BetMGM ties included. So I love that value.
She is second on the LPGA in strokes gained tee to green this season, behind only Nelly Korda. So strokes gained tee to green is number 1, Nelly Korda, who's like 3-1 to win this week. Bet that if you want. Number 2 is Megan King. She was also second in the field at the Mizuho America's Open in strokes gained tee to green, plus 9.59. She's got to figure out her short game. She would be racking up the wins if she can chip and putt even half decent. She's terrible. Almost as bad as Minjee Lee. If you look at her numbers, unbelievable ball striker, but like one of the worst putters in golf history, like consistently losing like 7 strokes a tournament on the greens. Megan King's not quite that bad, which is why I'd be much more willing to bet her at longer odds than Minjee Lee, who I think is like 35-1. So yeah, we just, it's the same thing that I always say about men golfers as well. I'd rather bet on a good ball striker and hope they get hot putting than a good putter and hope they get hot with their ball striking. Anything to add with Megan King?
Yeah, she's played really well at U.S. Women's Open historically. She missed the cut last year, but the 3 previous finishes were T8, T4, and solo 5th. Obviously, 2 of those would have cashed the top 5 place. But the fact that the thing with U.S. Open, both on the men's and women's side, is that the USGA tends to set up the courses very similarly. It demands a lot of the same things. So the fact that she's played this well here tells me that her ball striking gets rewarded in a very big way.
Yep. So there you go. This episode, we kind of talked about 1 major and half a major, which I'm going to chalk up the Canadian Open as half a major. So 1.5 majors this week. I mean, it's a fun week for golf. I mean, it's not Masters week, but we got a women's U.S. Open and a men's Canadian Open. It's a fun one. There you go. Do you have anything to add before we shut this thing down?
My 5th major is the 3M Open up in Minnesota, TPC Twin Cities. No ties to it. Just a vaunted historic tournament that I think's been around for like 3 years.
My 6th major is the Rocket Mortgage Classic at Detroit Golf Club.
Exactly. I mean, that's why Bryson DeChambeau is a past champion there, so at least you got that in your back pocket.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to the BetSided YouTube channel. Leave a comment with your best bets for this week, whether it's on the LPGA or the PGA Tour. Follow us on X at Iain McBets and at the Sizzle20. Thank you all so much for watching. Best of luck this week. Gamble or bless. We'll be back next week for the Memorial, which is ironically no longer on Memorial weekend.
Weird. Whatever. We'll take it.
We'll talk to you then.